What's up, everybody? The Washington Wizards made some moves today, signing Jared Butler to a two-way contract and waiving Quenton Jackson. And we're going to talk about point guard, who starts and who's the backup. We're going to talk about that and more next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy again, Brandon Scott, with my co-host, the real Ed Oliver. Thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. So today, the Washington Wizards made some moves, signing Jared Butler to a two-way contract, but waiving Quenton Jackson, which to me was a very surprising move. So, looking up the makeup of this roster, what are your first thoughts on these moves?
I hate to see Quenton Jackson go, man. I really do. We were both big fans of his game. Had a great Capital City Go-Go season last year, and then the last couple of games of the season for the regular Wizards when they sat Brad and Porzingis and Kuz and Denny sat. They just sat everybody towards the majority of the team last year and just let the young guys play. I thought he showed out. He played really well. The Rockets game he went to, he had a heck of a game. Had a couple highlight dunks. It showed his explosive and his athleticism. Even in the summer league last year, he showed flashes of athleticism and explosiveness. And I thought he was an undrafted guy out of Texas A&M that definitely showed potential, some shiftiness to his game, and a guy who could create separation for himself and could really score. But the summer league, man, it just didn't work out. I think they tried to play him at point guard, and he turned the ball over a lot. He shot every time he touched the ball, he just shot it. That Pacers game, it was really bad. He got blocked a couple times. He kept going up against Jarris Walker, got blocked. Then he kept trying to go up against their other big, Isaiah Jackson, for the Pacers, kept getting blocked. And he just had tunnel vision. Like, at the end of the game, it was between him and Xavier Cooks. They both took two really bad shots down the stretch, and we could have won that first summer league game. And I thought he was just trying to force the issue a little too much. Didn't let the game come to him. Now, the last couple games of the summer league, I thought he calmed down a little bit, relaxed a little bit. Still didn't shoot the ball well or score the ball well as much as he did with the Go-Go or last year in the last 2 or 3 regular season games that he played in. So it's unfortunate. I think he will be picked up by a different team, maybe on another two-way contract or play on another G League roster. So I definitely wish him the best. I think he was a fan favorite as well. He was a guy that was easy to root for. I want to say he got a triple-double in the G League as well. So I certainly wish him the best, but it looks like they're bringing in a guy that Jared Butler that they're familiar with. Played at OKC, played with the Jazz. Will Dawkins was the GM. Not GM, but Will Dawkins, of course, coming over here, being the GM here. He may bring over some other Thunder guys. Now, you look at the list of guys who were with or who have played or coached under or with or just been a part of the Thunder organization with Will Dawkins. Now, Mike Muscala was with the Thunder while Will Dawkins was there. Danilo Gallinari, Eugene Omoruyi, who was on the other two-way contract, so that makes sense. And now Will Dawkins brought a guy that he had in the Thunder on a two-way contract. Now he brings him over here. Now he brings over Jared Butler. Mike Muscala was with the Thunder. Brian Keefe was an assistant coach over there with the Thunder. And of course, and then Michael Winger is the president now. So you got a lot of people from the Thunder organization coming over here. So maybe we can bring in some other guys if they do get rid of or release some guys. Because there was a report saying that the Thunder had a bunch of guys on their roster. They're going to have to kind of shed and release some guys, some young talent. Maybe Aaron Wiggins. A lot of people want Trey Mann. I highly doubt they release Trey Mann, but he's a good player for them too. But yeah, Jared Butler's a good player, man. Went to Baylor, won the championship, was the most outstanding player, had 31 points in the summer league game, hit 5 threes, averaged about 20 points per game in the summer league. Played with some good players. Played with Chet, Ousmane Dieng, Keontae Johnson, Kassan Wallace was on that team, Trey Mann was on that team, and who else was on that team? Jalen Williams played on that team too. So OKC had a lot of good players, and this guy Jared Butler really, really stood out. 20 points a game, had 4 assists per game, and shot 48% from the three-point line, hitting 3 threes per game off of 7 3-point attempts per game. So the guy can fill it up. He can shoot the ball. Tough nose, hard nose kind of player. So about 6'3", 6'2". So I'm excited to see what he does on the two-way contract.
Yeah, this is quickly becoming the Washington Thunder, right?
Yeah, I know. Just like the Washington Panthers.
I was just about to bring that up.
Right.
If you look at the stat line, I've seen him play a little bit 20 points, like you said, 4 assists, shot 50% from the field, but 48% from three. I mean, we need more shooters, man. We need more guys who can shoot the rock. I think it's a big move, man. I mean, two-way contract, probably gonna start out with the Capital City Go-Go, but that's the thing. The Capital City Go-Go and the personnel over there, the general manager, coaches over there, they do a good job of keeping these guys ready. So if there's a chance they come up and have to contribute, they're able to do so. Because I mean, again, look, Quenton Jackson, him and Jordan Goodwin were two success stories about how the Go-Go kind of brought guys along, kept them game ready. So because especially when we went through COVID, all the injuries, we were able to bring these guys up from Capital City Go-Go, and they were able to contribute right away. So I think he'd do well at Capital City. Very intriguing, man. I know people are gonna get on me for saying that, but but I mean, I like what I see from him, man. He's a baller. He can definitely play some basketball. Now, why we didn't retain Quenton Jackson, I don't know. Like I said, we still have one spot left for a two-way contract, so I don't know why we decided to move on from him. I kind of want to see him kind of stay because, again, yeah, his summer league was not the best, but I mean, from last year, he showed me enough that he has that athleticism, he has that scorer's mentality that he can still contribute. He had a bad summer league, I get that, but I kind of wish we would have retained Q Jacks, man. So, yeah, looking at the moves, I mean, yeah, we're losing Quenton Jackson, but Jared Butler can definitely contribute if need be. And then again, that's why this is a really good move because you got a guy who, again, he can come up and play some minutes, and he's on a two-way contract, so that's depth. So it's another good move by this organization, man. They're really, really surrounding this organization with young talent, guys who can, and I get the other guy that plays on two-way. I mean, his name just gives me fits every time.
Eugene.
But there you go. He's not necessarily a young cat, but he's still, where he can still, develop a little bit and come up and contribute. So, no, I definitely welcome the move, man. Again, it's another good under-the-radar move made by the organization that gives us quality depth at the position. So, no, I like it, man.
Yeah, looking at the summer league numbers, I know you don't want to base everything off summer league, but I think watching summer league, OKC, Will Dawkins was like looking at Jared Butler, looking at the film, was like, hey, let's bring this guy over. Jared Butler shot 50% from the field as well, and like we brought up 48% from the three, 88% from the free throw line. So he almost had a 50-40-90 summer league, and he did play in 4 games, so it wasn't just 1 or 2 games. And then Quenton Jackson, he struggled. He shot 36% from the field and 25% from the three-point line. So I think they just looked at summer league and they were like, this is what fits. And I like how you brought up the shooting, man. He can shoot the three. Shot the ball well at Baylor as well. Had a 30-point game against Kansas. I was just reading his write-up. He was the second round pick, the 40th pick of the draft, by the Utah Jazz. So definitely still a lot of talent there. He's 22 years old, 6'3", 193 pounds. Second round, 40th pick, selected by the New Orleans Pelicans. Played for the Salt Lake City Stars, the Grand Rapids Gold, Oklahoma City Blue. And then on Wikipedia, it has it on the Washington Wizards and Capital City Go-Go. So, and he was the Final Four most outstanding player. First team All Big 12 in 2020 and 2021. And he was on the Big 12 All Defensive Team in 2021, Big 12 All Freshman Team in 2019. And he played with Davion Mitchell, who plays for the Kings, who is one of the best young defenders in the league. So nothing but positive things for Jared Butler. So we'll see if he can get into the rotation. We'll talk about that later.
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely see because I think, again, this is a quality move for depth. They're definitely surrounding this organization with young talent who are very, very hungry. He's coming in there, man. He's hungry. He's trying to get that NBA contract. So you definitely believe that he's going to definitely come with that dog, man. But so next we're going to talk about point guard. Who starts? Who's the backup? We're going to talk about that next. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Take your first swing at betting Major League Baseball on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That is right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Ooh, that's $200 you can spend betting on anything from the money line to over and under to who you think is going to hit the first home run of the night. All on one app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. That's big. There's no better place to bet on Major League Baseball than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball. And thanks for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Every day or tomorrow, we're going to do some situational lineups. The big lineup, a shooter's lineup, a defensive lineup. We're going to talk about that and more tomorrow. So definitely tune in. So diving right in, point guard position, a lot of speculation. Does Jordan Poole start? Does Tyus Jones start? Did Ryan Rollins do enough to get minutes at the backup point guard? So today's first day. You gotta set that lineup. Who's your starter? Who's your backup? And how many minutes do you give Ryan Rollins out the gate?
That's a good question. Tyus Jones is my starter. I know a lot of people in the comment section or social media rather have Jordan Poole start at point guard. I'm looking at the Wizards depth chart right now. They already updated it. They have Tyus Jones as the starter, DeLon Wright as the first guy off the bench at point guard. Then third string, they have Jordan Poole listed at point guard. They have Jordan Poole starting as shooting guard, but they have him as the third string point guard. I do think Jordan Poole is going to play point guard for sure. If you look at Basketball Reference, the stat show that he played 67% at the time as a point guard with the Warriors last season. And then Ryan Rollins is the fourth string guy. Then Jared Butler is your fifth string point guard. DeLon Wright, like I said, DeLon Wright's the second guy off the bench, or the first point guard off the bench. But yeah, that's how I would have Tyus start, because he is a good, steady Eddie point guard. He's more of a backup point guard, but when he plays as a starter, when Ja was hurt, he averaged 16 points a game. So the guy can play one of the best assist to turnover ratios. I know it sounds exactly just like what we talked about with Monte Morris, where he doesn't really put pressure on the rim. It doesn't really push the pace much. Doesn't make many mistakes. But Tyus Jones, he can get to the rim a little bit. He shoots a lot of floaters, so I like Tyus' game a lot. He's a guy that can calm the troops down. You know, when Jordan Poole does kind of do a little bit of and one mixtape tour and kind of can get a little loose with the handle. I mean, he's fun to watch, but the turnovers do come when he does some of the and one mixtape tour moves. And he get a little loose with the basketball. And I think Tyus Jones is the guy that can kind of calm the troops down and get Jordan Poole set up in his spot so he can just worry about scoring. Then DeLon Wright's got to play. Tyus Jones is going to get about 30 minutes. I feel like DeLon's going to get about 25 because we need his defense bad. And then Ryan Rollins, I think he's going to get the Jordan Goodwin minute rotation, like what Jordan Goodwin got last year. Like 10 to 15 minutes a game, just depending on the matchup, depending on how well he played. If Ryan Rollins can be a defensive pest, if he can put pressure on the rim, if he can pick up and guard 94 feet. Ryan Rollins is not as good as a defender as Jordan Goodwin, but I do think Ryan Rollins certainly needs some playing time. And Jared Butler, if somebody's not available one night, or like say if they trade DeLon Wright or trade Tyus, right before the trade deadline, I think that's when Jared Butler starts to get more playing time, when they consolidate the roster. Because I don't see them making any trades before the season starts, to be honest with you, at this point. I think all the trades are going to happen in February before the trade line. So I think that's when Jared Butler gets the majority of his playing time. I think he's going to play in a go-go. And if he does earn some minutes, like I said, I think it would probably be around that 10-minute range, 10 to 12 minutes.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think any moves are pending right now. I think that most of the moves are going to be made at the deadline. I'm going to do two lineups real quick, before deadline and after deadline. Going into the regular season, I definitely see Tyus as being the starting point guard with DeLon Wright backing him up. But at the deadline, I think it changes. I think Jordan Poole will be your starting point guard after the deadline, because they're going to trade either DeLon or Tyus. And that's going to open up, I definitely want to see Jordan Poole as the starting point guard after the deadline, because, I mean, if you look at the bench, there's a lot of pieces that have to be moved at the deadline. Shooting guard, Shamet is definitely going to be one of the first people that is moved at the deadline, because you got to free up minutes for Johnny Davis. Where does Kispert play on the bench? Where does Bilal play on the bench? I mean, you got to free up minutes. So Shamet definitely is going to be a candidate to be moved. But looking at Gallinari and Muscala, if we're able to obtain a backup center, then I have no problem moving on from Muscala. And the same thing with, Gallinari. Do you move him at the deadline? Do you think Patrick Baldwin Jr., he's there to plug in backup for? That's the question. When we get to that point, maybe they can answer that. But, there's a lot of questions for the second unit. So obviously going into the season, Tyus is that guy. He was called the best point guard, a backup point guard in the NBA. And, this is his opportunity to show people what he can do. But I think going forward, Jordan Poole is definitely that guy who's going to be our franchise point guard, because, I mean, there's a lot of simulators from another young guard from Golden State that we get a coin flip was the big reason why he came to DC and Gilbert Arenas. Guy who is electrifying scorer, man. If he can figure out how to kind of work on his turnovers, I mean, look at a lot of his vision is on point. It's just, like you said, he gets and one sometimes. He does a lot of these, animated passes, and he's a little loose with the ball. But if he can settle down and really become more efficient with the ball, I think Jordan Poole is that franchise point guard going forward. Because, we talked about it previous episodes, man. Is he a piece to build around, or is he a piece that is part of that foundation to build his team back into, or not back into, but into a contender? I think so. I've seen enough from him playing on Golden State where he was not a featured member of the offense. When Stephen Curry went out, he performed at a high level. I think he can be that franchise point guard because, you look at the next couple of drafts, man. Next year is a very forward-heavy draft. So do you really risk and reach and go get a DJ Wagner, an Isaiah Collier? I don't think you have to. I think that if Jordan Poole can prove that he's efficient, we already found our franchise point guard. And then we can go and find pieces to go from there. Kind of like we did with John Wall. We drafted John Wall, and then we got the pieces to follow, whether it was, drafting, Brad Bill, Porter, and bring those pieces in, Markieff. The list goes on. So, we got to build from somewhere. A lot of people are kind of 50-50 when it comes to Jordan Poole being that piece going forward. So it's kind of like Kuzma. A lot of people saying, oh, he's a piece that can be moved. Some people saying, oh, you could be good going forward. I think Jordan Poole, we don't have to search for that point guard because, so that's where I'm at. After the deadline, I see him taking over point guard. Now, obviously, going into the regular season, he's going to be the 2 guard. But you've got to show up the second unit because looking at a perspective lineup, you're going to have Jordan Poole at 2, presumably going to have Denny or Corey Kispert, depending on the lineup at 3, then Kuz and Gaff. But if you look at that second unit, Schmet's got to play. They already said he's going to get minutes because he got to bring his value up. So it's going to be interesting. It really is. I'm with you. I don't think there's going to be a consolidation trade before the regular season, but they definitely have to do one, man, because you got to move on from some of these aspiring deals, get some assets, and then give some minutes to these young guys, especially Johnny Davis and Bilal, because it's very pivotal for both of them. So, that's why I think that before, going into the regular season, Tyus, after the deadline, Poole.
Yeah, no, I like that point that you brought up before and after the deadline because they just got to showcase guys. It's kind of like how they had to showcase Montrezl Harrell 2 years ago. They had to showcase Dinwiddie. They had to showcase Bertans just so they could get these guys value up and trade them because they just knew it wasn't working that season. But you don't get the most value you can get if you have Tyus coming off the bench. So that's why you can't. That's another reason. And I think Tyus, if I think they should start Tyus at the point guard. Looking at Jordan Poole, he had 252 turnovers last year, which was 4th in the league. Trae Young led the league in turnovers with 300. Anthony Edwards had 259. Russell Westbrook had 255, and Jordan Poole had 252. Now, turnovers, Jokic had 247. He was 5th. So Giannis was 6th with 246. So turnovers is something to look at, but it's good that he's forcing the issue. It's good that he's forcing the issue. He's putting pressure on the rim. So I think he would be fine at point guard, but like you said, before trade deadline, showcase Tyus, let Tyus do his thing, let him get his trade value up. And then after, go ahead, let Jordan Poole start at point guard. Now, Jordan Poole, just because he doesn't start at point guard doesn't mean he's not going to play point guard during a game. He'll be bringing the ball up. He'll be getting isolation, breaking guys down, step back threes. Those one-legged jumpers he likes to shoot, those one-legged one-footers, some of the and one mixtape stuff that he likes to do where he can really get to the basket and get crafty and really mix guys up and put guys in a blender. So he's going to certainly do that. Just because Tyus is starting doesn't mean we won't see Jordan Poole play point guard at all during the game. Like you said, with a second unit as well. And then look at the numbers too. I just had this up where last year he played, because I said 67 at the point guard position. He played 64% at the point guard position last year in 2023. Steph didn't play. He missed a good amount of games last year, so Jordan Poole had to step up and play point guard. Then the year before in 2022, he played 33% at point guard and 62% at point guard. So it's kind of flip-flopping. So he can do both. He's a versatile guy that can do both. And DeLon's got to play a lot of point guard too, so we can showcase him as well because it's a contract year for him. So we just gotta get through this storm of this first half of the season. Then they can throw any lineup they want. If they want to put Bilal at the 2 to start after the trade deadline, I'm fine with that. If they want to put Vucevic as your first big off the bench after the trade deadline, I'm fine with that. Or maybe at the power forward position, they can try any line. Patrick Baldwin get playing time, a bunch of playing time after the trade deadline. I think they just got to get through these first couple of months of the season, see what they got to evaluate, and then they can try any lineup that they want to do.
Yeah, I agree with you. Right before we roll, man, I agree with you that at the deadline, get assets for these expiring contracts, and in the second half of the season, man, definitely look at giving Johnny Davis, definitely Bilal some minutes, definitely evaluate this young talent. But they're in a good position. It's not a bad position because they have an opportunity to move a lot, some of these expiring deals and get some assets and get more picks. And then you can turn around and give young guys minutes. So, the Wizards definitely find themselves in a very, very good position. So, that's the question for everybody. Who is your starting point guard going into the season? And who's your point guard after the deadline? So definitely comment below. Definitely let us know what you guys are thinking. So we're going to go ahead and roll tonight. Definitely appreciate you guys. Definitely like and definitely subscribe. Hit the notification button. Let you know when dope videos like this come out. Wherever you get your podcast, 5-star review is much appreciated. So again, we appreciate y'all, man. So till next time, man, hail to the Wizards and peace. Y'all have a good night.